my God.
Skip it up and that up. So some of the most detailed specs yet have been supposedly leaked for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So this comes from Forbes.com, and my buddy over there, Eric Kane, I actually did an interview with him a long time ago regarding No Man's Sky on my YouTube channel. He's an awesome dude, and I love when he does write-ups on Forbes.com, and he put this article up from information that he got from 4chan. Now let's keep it real. 4chan can have actually accurate information, or it can have a bunch of crap. It is what it is. Take this with a teeny tiny grain of salt. I know people hate when I say that, but this is just what you have to do. And I think it's fun to go back and look back at these videos after the consoles have been released and see what was accurate and what was rumor. So right now, these are the most detailed specs that we have gotten, leaked or not, about the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And most of it makes sense. One thing here doesn't, which makes me scratch my head, which means that this leak may be a pile of crap, or it means that maybe someone, when they typed up this information, just put a typo in there. But anyway, here is a chart basically that was leaked that shows the specs of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Let's take a look. We'll talk about them and then I'll discuss them. So for the GPU, we've known this for a while for both the PS5 and Xbox Series X. We didn't know the actual compute performance like locked down like this, but we both knew they're going to have AMD RDNA tech in there, and the GPU inside the PlayStation 5 is going to be 12.6 teraflops, and then the Xbox Series X is going to be 11.8 teraflops. And I'll explain why in a little bit, why the PS5's GPU almost having 1 teraflop more of compute performance may not make a big difference. But anyway, the CPU inside of both the PS5 and Series X is going to be Zen 2, 8 cores, 16 threads, and the Xbox Series X version of the Zen 2 processor is going to be 100 megahertz faster. Yay, that's not really going to make a difference. RAM, according to this leak, the PS5 is going to have 18 gigabytes of GDDR6 with 4 gigabytes of DDR4. The Series X is going to have 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 with 4 gigabytes of DDR4. Obviously, the 4 gigabytes of DDR4 in each system is going to be for the operating system and background operations, and then the rest of the memory is going to be for the games. And that 2 gigabytes more in the PS5 can make a difference, especially later on in the life of these consoles, but it is what it is. It's still not a huge deal. PlayStation 5. Now, the solid state drive, we've known this for a while in terms of speed, is going to be faster with 5.5 gigabytes a second. And the SSD inside of the Series X, which we heard is going to be more budget SSD, is going to be 3.8 gigabytes a second. But look at the size of the drives. The PS5 is going to come with a 500 gigabyte drive SSD, according to this leak, and the Xbox Series X is going to come with a 1 terabyte drive, which in my opinion, both of those drives are woefully too small, woefully undersized. That's what she said. But anyway, moving on. PS5 visuals and sound, dedicated cores for ray tracing and 3D audio. The Xbox Series X is going to have dedicated ray tracing cores, less than the PlayStation 5, and it doesn't show anything about 3D audio. Doesn't mean it's not going to be there, though. Maybe that was just an oversight in this leak. Now, the data bandwidth. This was where things kind of make me scratch my head. The PS5 has 576 gigabytes a second of data bandwidth, where the Xbox Series X has 596 gigabytes a second of data bandwidth. That kind of conflicts with them talking about the solid state drive speeds, where it's 5.5 gigabytes a second on the PlayStation 5 and 3.8 gigabytes a second on the Xbox Series X. How can the slower drive have more bandwidth? Maybe the bandwidth numbers are speaking of something else, and maybe I'm misreading them, but that kind of leaves me scratching my head. And again, maybe it's just maybe these specs are all 100% legitimate, and someone who posted them out there just posted a typo, and that's why the PS5 has less data bandwidth than the Xbox Series X. Now, in terms of, let's get the easy thing out of the way, the AMD Zen 2 processor, the Xbox Series X being 100 megahertz faster than the PS5 processor, is going to make absolutely no noticeable difference. But the thing I want to talk about is two things. Let's talk about the GPU. Now, the compute performance inside the PlayStation 5, according to this leak, is 12.6 teraflops as opposed to the Xbox Series X 11.8 teraflops. Now, that could make a difference in performance with games. That could make a difference in resolutions and things like that. But it's all going to be about the API. The API, the development kits for both of these systems are what's going to make or break them. Okay? You can have less compute performance on a gaming system, but if the development kit digs down deeper in the metal than the development kit for the competing system, even if it's a lower power GPU, developers may be able to get more out of it. I'm not saying that's going to happen here. Maybe games will look significantly better on the PlayStation 5. But if Microsoft has a better API and dev kit for the Series X, it could make up for the lack of actual hardware performance on the GPU inside their 9th gen console. Now, storage aside, speeds aside, and the PlayStation 5's SSD being quicker, 500 gigabytes is absolutely unacceptable. And honestly, even a terabyte is not enough storage. I just, on that Intel rig that I put together, have a 2 terabyte solid state hybrid drive in there, and I filled it up with games like that. It took with like 20 games. So 500 gigabytes is going to be like a game and a half on the PlayStation 5. I'm telling you, if that's actually the size of the drives and this leak is accurate about the 500 gigabyte drive inside the PS5 and the 1 terabyte drive inside of the Xbox Series X, as soon as you go buy your systems, you're going to have to get a hard drive, external hard drive with it. Or if they won't let you get an external hard drive because you need to have the high-speed drives, you're going to have to buy whatever proprietary drive both Sony and Microsoft come out with. So if you're expecting just to spend the $500 on your next-gen consoles, which is probably what they're going to cost, you're going to have to buy their drives with it too, because 500 gigabytes it's nothing. That's like you're going to have to install a game, uninstall it, get another one, install a game, uninstall it, get another one. It's absolutely ridiculous. Look, I get, even though solid state prices have gone down, especially with the tech they're putting inside these systems, to put a 2 terabyte drive in there would cost a lot of cash money. But I'm willing to even pay like $50 more up front for these systems, or even $75 more just to have more storage inside of them. This is just 500 gigabytes is just silly. That's what the PlayStation 4 had inside of it in 2013. It's now 2020, 7 years later. Seriously, Sony? Again, this is just a leak. This is just a rumor. This could be totally wrong. I'm hoping they put at least a terabyte in there. I think realistically it should be 2 terabytes, but maybe that'll be a way that they could upsell you. Oh, you can't just have 500 gigabytes in your PlayStation 5. Well, we have this proprietary drive that's by Sony that you have to buy the drive that Sony made for it for an extra $100, and cha-ching, people will do it. So at the end of the day, even if the PS5 is truly more powerful and these specs are accurate, they're still both beast systems here. They're still both, the gap isn't big enough where it's going to be like, oh my God, games look like crap on the Series X and they look so much better on the PlayStation 5. And again, it's about how good the APIs are for each of these systems too. And if the API is really good for the Series X, it may close the gap in hardware performance between the PS5 and Series X. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was like when the PS4 and Xbox One launched, where some games were 1080p on the PlayStation 4 and only 720p on the Xbox One. I think these are both beast consoles, and I am very excited for 9th gen, and you should be too. These are like high-end gaming PCs, man. They're really, really impressive if these specs are accurate, which I think at least some of it is. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a Review Tech USA member. I'll have a link below in the description. I live stream now on this channel all the time, and it gives you access to cool emoticons to use as well while I live stream. Again, link below in the description. Thank you for your continued support.